Are you ready to grow your financial practice to heights you've never imagined? You're listening to the Elevated Advisor Podcast with your online business mentor and host, David Scranton. Each week, you'll learn Dave's secrets that have helped him become one of the most successful financial advisors in the country. So are you ready to become an elevated advisor? The Elevated Advisor Podcast starts now.
And welcome to the Elevated Advisor Podcast. I'm David Scranton, and I'm here with today's guest, a good friend of mine from Louisiana, Drew Pelton. And today, Drew's going to share what he's been through a little bit in terms of the importance of having a good team to back you up in the organization, in the office. And Drew, you've made some good leaps recently in terms of your business. You were at 10, 12 million of new business brought in just a couple years ago. But last year, you were just a hair shy of bringing in 30 million of new assets. So obviously, that's a great growth trajectory. But I'd like to take a step backward and have you just tell us how you got started in the industry. How long ago did you get started in the industry, and kind of what channels you came in through?
Sure, and thanks for laying that out, Dave. I came in through New York Life in 1979, so I've been doing this for some time.
Longer than me, that's right.
And that was the traditional life insurance and disability route, see people at night, and came up through the industry that way. I actually quickly got out of that aspect of the business. I started doing corporate life insurance, deferred compensation, estate planning, and along the way, since it's a long story, I began to have the investment business focus.
And you started gathering actual AUM how long ago?
There was a little separation there, but it's only been about 8 years since I have been full force attempting to get the AUMs. It was a little bit of a slow start.
But all the growth recently has been more exponential, and you attribute a big part of that to having the right team.
Absolutely. There is no way, as you laid out the numbers, whether it's 10 million, 12 million, last year almost getting close to 30 million, that I could
this far away. You were so close.
We'll have to do more next year for sure. But there's no way one can do it without an expert team, without a team that is dedicated, focused, and the systems and the processes have to be in place.
Now, you are you're not afraid to let people go if they're not the right part of your team. In fact, part of your claim to fame, I might say, by an inner circle of our friends, is that you've actually fired your own family members more than once, have you not?
Is this a counseling session?
But I bring that up because it's part of, I find that as financial advisors, we fall into becoming complacent and maybe accepting mediocrity in our companies. And maybe the reason is because we just hate to interview, right? In fact, I always say, Drew, you've heard me say this, right? A financial advisor trying to hire somebody is like the trifecta of hell. Why do I say that? Because number one, we hate to interview, right? So you find somebody, and if you kind of sort of like them, you want to hire them because then the pain of interviewing will end, right? That's one thing. Number two, if you're interviewing a salesperson, they're going to be really good at selling you on how good they are, even if they're not. And number three, salespeople are the easiest people to be sold, right? So that's why I call it the trifecta of hell when you're hiring someone as a financial advisor, and frankly, the reluctance to get rid of them. So I say it in a very loving way and as a compliment when I say you fired your family members more than once, because it really means you're not going to put up with any BS.
Well, yes, and to me, cash is king, and the king of successful business is profitability. Since you said it, I think along the lines of what you're saying, we're looking for the easy way out. With my son, it was easy. He's looking for a job. Okay, seems like an easy thing, but just without the details, just not a good fit. My wife retired from a dental profession, and we thought, okay, well, my lovely wife Karen could work out, but she just had different training skills.
Are you trying to say was it like pulling teeth trying to get her to do what you needed her to do in the office?
A little bit of that, yeah, absolutely. So, and in any case, you have to find the right talent. You have to find the right staff for sure.
Yeah, and I think you have to. It's important to, even if it's a family member or somebody close. Now, it's different if it's a child that wants to get in the business as a financial advisor, right? That's everyone's dream that's listening or watching this, that, hey, if my son or daughter wants to get in, I want to have that person here. So I see with that in those situations where you might go a little bit extra and try to help somebody organically. But we've even gotten to the point, Drew, you and I were talking about it earlier today, where even when you're looking at somebody in a role, you don't want to take on a project. You've been in this business now since 1979. To bring on somebody who hasn't done that role and train them is really taking on a project. They may succeed, they may not, but bottom line is you're going to put out a lot of effort along the way training them. You need to bring somebody on. I think this is you're learning too, that bring somebody on that knows what they're doing, that's done that role before, that has the experience, so that you don't have to get death from 1,000 paper cuts trying to train somebody who doesn't know what an IRA rollover is.
Unquestionably, finding talent that has experience makes it a lot easier. If I may, by the way, with the family, I have a good relationship with my son, and I'm still married.
That's right. That's awesome. No, it's and I say that story really, and I brag about you in that way because that's the opposite of what a lot of advisors do. And Brian Tracy likes to say, hire slow, fire fast. And part of the secret to having a successful operation is realize, look, I'm not doing this person any good if they can't excel in this role. If this isn't their God-given talent, then I need to help them find that talent, even if it means outside the organization. Now, it may mean inside the organization in a different seat, but even if it means outside, it's better off, because otherwise, right, you're pretty demanding. You want things done and done right, and you deserve that because you're paying people. But think about it. If it's not somebody's natural talent and you're constantly beating them over the head to get this thing done, you don't want to be in that role of micromanaging, but is it fun for them?
No, it's not.
No.
People have to have the skill set. I said experience, but some people have a knack for this financial business and some do not. So, and it's like anything in life. It's a fit or it's not a fit. And that's critically important. The people I have mirror me. They mirror the systems and processes that we have. They work well with the entire network group that we have. And that's, I have to give them much of the credit. I've always worked hard, but it really gets down to working smart.
And you also have hired local people. So if you notice, I said Drew's from Louisiana. Now, if you're listening carefully, we have not heard any Louisiana accent come out of his mouth yet, right? So how much of the benefit, too, if you just moving to another state and taking up and not being a local, being essentially a northerner, right, going to Louisiana,
That's right.
How much does it help to have local folks in the office that know the culture, that can talk the talk and walk the walk?
Critically important, and I have done that, and it plays well, because think about what happens in any growth stage. The advisor is not going to be doing everything, and when your staff is talking, they are needing to relate. They want to relate with your staff, and back to the local cultural type of connection, that's really critically important. People want to do business with people they like and who they can identify with, and that has definitely been important in my hiring.
And if you're watching this here on YouTube as opposed to listening to this, you'll notice there that he's gone in head first. After just a few years, he's wearing the Saints emblem on his jersey.
I am.
Yeah, that's right. Saints and LSU. So you've gotten acclimated pretty quickly. So let's get granular. Okay, you started and said, okay, I'm going to hire a right-hand man. So you hired a right-hand man. You brought this person on, and I'm grateful for him, because I actually met you through an introduction from him. So that was nice, right? But it didn't work out. So what would you say is the big learning that you can take from that with this particular individual and why it didn't work out, and what you would encourage others to look for in the future that might avoid them from getting in that same situation that you'd gotten into early on.
Teamwork, attitude, a synergistic approach to working with everybody else is critically important. If you don't have that, there's going to be a problem, even if there is a skill set and experience.
Okay. So give me an example of some things that this person would do that got you to realize pretty quickly he's really in it for himself, not teamwork.
Well, since you said granular, I'll when they go to some of your other employees and say, Drew this or Drew that, which was probably nothing but let me put Drew down and raise myself, just really unprofessionalism. And I think any advisor running a business just has to be very aware of who's in their house, because you, the advisor, it's your house, and you need a good house. Synergistic teamwork, those are the words I use. That's what I'm looking for when I'm hiring people today. I'm looking to hire 2 new people. It's probably going to happen in a week or 2 at most, and I am drilling down very hard about those 2 things. Can you play well with my existing team?
Mm-hmm. Sure. You never know, and a lot of you might have this going on right now where you have an office, you got some team members, and you're so busy seeing clients, doing reviews, and seeing prospects that, you could have your own Brutus, right? Et tu, Brute? You can have your own person in there that's undermining you because maybe you have a certain culture and they want to implement their culture, their fingerprint on it, but it goes against what you want, and as a result, it creates a counterculture.
Absolutely, and it's poison, and nobody likes it. Everybody likes a good team. I think I love sports, and if you look at any great sports team dynasty, there's always been great chemistry, and sometimes those teams may not have had the greatest talent, but when the chemistry's right, again the synergy, again the teamwork is right, that's what makes for greatness and great success. And I believe that is hugely why we have been able to grow exponentially in the last few years.
Yeah, if you have any suspicions that you've got a Judas on your bench, get rid of him. Hire slow, fire fast. That great advice from great success and sales coach Brian Tracy. And I know even more recently, you had to part ways with someone, and a little bit of a different fact pattern, but similar in some ways. Really, this person was looking out for his or her own agenda more so than the company's agenda.
Yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, I had to do this on December 19th, right before Christmas. It was not an easy decision, but if I had not made that decision, I would have had disgruntled employees, other good ones that may have been giving me notice. I recognized the problem. One particular leader, I'll say, told me what the issue was, and we dealt with it within 1 week. I had adequate conversations with everyone, including the person that got fired, but you cannot let poison hang around. It's got to go.
And if you have turnover, you have a few staff members in your office and you have some turnover, and you're wondering what's going on here, but yet there's 1 or 2 people that are just there, you've got to suspect the possibility of there being a cancer in that organization commonality. And I don't know if you do this or not, Drew, but I'm a big fan of doing exit interviews when somebody leaves voluntarily. Have you done those at all?
I do them whenever is necessary. You hope that you don't have to do too many. With this last situation, there was an exit interview. It ended up turning into the final, you're going to go, and then it was some other cleanup
even when
things.
people leave voluntarily, you terminated this person, but if somebody leaves voluntarily, you've done exit interviews to find out, okay, what's the real reason they're leaving? Because sometimes the stated reason isn't the real reason, and it could be because of, again, a Judas in your organization.
Yes. Always there is an exit interview, and I tried to part wherever there needs to be a part where we haven't burnt any bridges. Not that somebody would be coming back per se, but I think it's better to keep good relationships in the community, and that's my approach. But an exit interview is always important.
And the other thing, too, that you do that I've always done, and I get grief because I have a bigger organization, so I get grief about it, is having this open door policy. Everybody says, well, the organization's too flat, because everyone has access to you. But I think that's the only way you find out sometimes things that are going on if you have an open door policy. And it seems like, I believe that's been part of your success, too, in ferreting these things out, is that you empower people to come to you and to speak freely.
I do. I empower them individually, and I empower them collectively in meetings to let them know that. And I'm also clear individually and in meetings that compensation with every individual is between me and the individual. So they know the line. Some things you can talk about openly, and some things you can't, but always an open book I am, and the door is always open for discussions. I want to hear from you.
Yeah. It's even a little awkward every once in a while. You've called me out of the blue every once in a while and just said, hey, I want your advice on X, Y, Z, and we've had a conversation. And sometimes, I want to say something about one of your team members. You do it oftentimes when the whole team is there, because your philosophy is, look, if there's something good to be said, hey, let's hear it. If there's something bad, let's hear it with the whole team. We're an open book. I'm not keeping any secrets. And I think because they know you don't keep any secrets, because you're an open book, I think that's what empowers people to be more open with you and to speak freely. So that is good, as long as you have those limits that you just discussed.
Thank you. And I think it's refreshing to people. They feel comfortable. They like that atmosphere. They don't feel there's secrecy or there's one-upsmanship that's being created in the organization.
Okay. So final thoughts for our listeners here in terms of what you'd suggest they do and don't do as they want to improve the management of their own operation, even if they just have a part-time assistant or they have 3 or 4 full-time employees.
Hire wisely. Your little thing about hire slowly, I am doing that with 2 new people right now, what I expect to be 2 new people, and it's been about a month. And they have actually complimented me about that and how much time I'm taking. But don't make a rash decision. Don't make an easy decision. Make sure they're going to be team players, and make sure that they can fit within your existing organization so that you can take your business to the next level.
And people want to feel like they earn the position, right? So you have one interview, you hire them on the spot because they could fog up a mirror. Okay, maybe that solves the problem for you short term, maybe a bigger problem long term, but the people end up feeling like, he would have hired anyone. But in this case, whoever ends up getting that position from you is going to feel like, I've earned it. I've beaten out competitors, and they're going to feel better about themselves. You made them work for it, but that's a good thing all around.
Yes, absolutely.
So real quick, if somebody here wants to reach out to you, why don't you tell our listeners how they might be able to reach you if they want to talk about practice management at all?
Be glad to talk with you. You can reach me on 225-831-1394. That's our office line in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay. One more time. 225?
225-831-1394.
Awesome. Drew, my man, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your help today on the podcast. It's awesome. And for all of you listening too, I hope you got something out of this today from my good friend Drew. And also, we hope that we see you or talk to you next week right here on the Elevated Advisor Podcast. I'm David Scranton, and this is the Elevated Advisor Podcast.
You have been listening to the Elevated Advisor Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your colleagues. If you would like to talk about elevating your financial firm, reach out to us at theelevatedadvisorpodcast.com. Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Sound Income Strategies, LLC, and the Retirement Income Source, LLC, are associated entities.